Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Judith Patterson. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in Texas, and today, I think we're in the third Friday of December, maybe the fourth, because December it looks like started on a Friday. And I am going to be sharing with you a card from the catalog, and I'm making it pretty much exactly like it's found in the catalog. And then I'm going to show you a card with the same basic layout using a different stamp set from the catalog, and then a sneak peek from another stamp set from the upcoming mini catalog that's going to be available in June. Now, if you're on my newsletter list, then you'll also be getting the PDF tutorial via email for the first two cards that I'll be showing you how to make in this video. If you're not on my newsletter list, then sign up as soon as you can. I'll be sending this tutorial out this evening, about an hour after the video goes live. And then next week, I'll be doing it again. And then after that, you'll be able to just stay up to date with what's going on with Stampin' Up, with my classes in particular, and any sales or promotions or anything that's happening. So it's a great time to be involved with Stampin' Up, whether as a customer or a demonstrator. Celebration is right around the corner, which is my favorite time in the Stampin' Up catalog because we all get freebies. There's so many goodies and new stamp sets and designer series paper and just all the fun things. If you have any questions, then make sure that feel free to reach out to me. You can leave a comment below the video or send me an email, and I'll be happy to get back to you as soon as possible. And this is my last video before Christmas, so I hope you have a wonderful Christmas weekend. Stay safe during the holidays and have a great new year, although I will have one more video before the new year. All right, let me show you what we're doing. I'm going to go ahead and move my camera around. First off, this is the new glass mat. Demonstrators were able to order it for just a brief time, and now it's not available right this minute. But this is what you get when you join Stampin' Up during celebration. So beginning in January, I believe January 5th. I don't have my calendar right in front of me, but I think it's January 5th. While supplies last, this is one of your options if you decide to join Stampin' Up. I would love to have you on my team. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out. There's no obligations whenever you sign up. And I would be happy to answer all of those questions you might have. Okay, so this is the catalog that we're using. There's just about a week left in the September to December mini catalog, but I've decided to go ahead and let's go back to the annual catalog. There's so much good stuff in here that I haven't shared with you yet, so let's just go back to this. All right, so the card that I'm first going to show you how to make is right here on page 26. It uses Sending Smiles. I love the stamp set, and I'm sorry, it does not look like my camera is wanting to focus very well, so I'm not sure what's going on with that, but hopefully you can see that well enough. It's this card here, and it uses a thick, basic white cardstock as the base. And then this piece of designer series paper is from the Bright and Beautiful 6x6 designer series paper, again from the annual catalog. So the first thing that I'm going to do is stamp Sending. I love this giant stamp. I'm going to stamp this using Tahitian Tide. I have to look at the title of this one because it kind of reminds me of Tempting Turquoise, which is a retired color we used to have, and it was my favorite for a very, very long time. It was a great color, and I guess because they both are this pretty blue and they start with T's, I get them mixed up a lot. I'm going to keep that open for just a minute. So this mat, it comes with the glass mat. I'm using it to cover up the glare that's on this glass, but it also is great for holding my ink pad still. And then I'm just going to tap off some of the color onto my mat here before I brush it onto my card. And then the cool thing is I can pick it right back up with my brush and blend a little more. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and get a scrap piece of basic white cardstock. If you watched my video last week, you know I have issues with losing my voice, and for some reason today I'm struggling again trying to lose my voice, and there is no reason for it. Maybe I'm going to start losing my voice whenever the weather is cold and rainy. I don't know what's going on. Okay, so I'm just stamping a card to say hello. I love a good hello card. Stamped it kind of crooked, so I'm just going to try to straighten it up a little bit as I cut it out with my paper snips. And then just cut the end off of that, and the end off of that. Okay, so this piece, I'm just going to go ahead and use Stampin' Dimensionals to add this to my card base. This glass mat is one of those things I thought, oh, I need that, I have to have it. And then I got it and I thought, why did I need that again? And, but then I started using it, and now it's all I want to use. I've always used our grid paper, which I will still use in my classes, and I don't know, I might use it whenever I travel. I haven't decided yet if I want to travel with this mat or not. It's pretty thick and sturdy, but still I'm not sure. But I am loving having the smooth surface for stamping and blending on. I also, like, the blending is a big deal. I've used it a lot for blending just the last few days. But also just being able to stick things on it and then pick it right back up. Handy. I might not should have done that. That's the first time I've actually done that. But look, it's all coming back up. I think I am going to have to pry my dimensionals up. That was kind of silly of me. I don't know what I was thinking. But I do know that I have gotten, you know, adhesive here and there on it, and it's been real easy to clean up. And like that, I mean, I can still use this. It's great. Here we go. And this palette over here, the silicone palette, is going to be fabulous for, did that a little off. For whenever I'm watercoloring, this is a great spot here to clean your water painters. And these places are great for, the small squares will hold your ink spots in place if you use the smaller ink spots. But it's also good for putting your ink to use for your watercolor palette. There's a lot of handy little things, and everything of course cleans up so easily off of this glass. It's really going to be a great tool, I think. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use my mini Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm getting ahead of myself today. This is not the order I usually do this in. But I'm going to go ahead and put these on here. And I'm just going to set it to the side. There we go. That's fine. That'll stay safe up there. I'm going to put that up there. I have scraps of basic white cardstock. So what I'm going to do now is use my Parakeet Party. And I have this flower stem. So I'm just going to ink it and stamp it. Then I'm going to use that same stamp scrap that I used earlier that is smaller. I'm going to stamp, this is Highland Heather. I'm going to stamp these flowers. So I'm doing the bigger one and the smaller one. Okay, so now, the other great thing about this is the little rubber feet on my mini stamp cut and emboss machine. They hold it down securely so it doesn't move all over the place the way that it does whenever I'm using my paper grid sheet. Okay, so I'm using the coordinating sending dies. So I've got my pieces. I'm going to use mini Stampin' Dimensionals to attach first the stem to my card base. I'm going to go ahead and cut this one in half-ish. I'm going to put the bigger half, because I didn't cut it exactly in half, there, and then the smaller piece I'm going to put right here. I am also going to take one more mini Stampin' Dimensional. I'm going to cut this one in thirds. You don't have to do this. I just, I like to keep things as even as possible and squish down when possible so that it doesn't catch and rip off somehow. So I'm just putting a little bit at the bottom of the stem here. I'll put a little bit on this leaf. Make sure you can see what I'm doing here. And then a little bit right up here at the top of this one. Okay, so now I'm going to place this right about here, like so. And I'll use the larger dimensionals to start putting these flowers down. So I'm just going to use 2 on the back of this one. They can go right about here. And then I just need 1 on the smaller flower. And it can go right about there. Then, to finish off the flowers on the front, I'm going to use the opaque ovals. I'm just going to put 1 in the center of each of these flowers. And then I'll take that sentiment piece that we put to the side earlier. And it goes right here, the bottom. There we go. Okay, so there's our front. Looking good. I do want to stamp the inside of my card. It never shows us that in the catalog, but I don't like having naked insides. You always want something fun on the inside of your card and on the envelope. So I forgot to grab envelopes. I keep doing that lately. I'll put that over here so it's not so noisy. So I've got the Parakeet Party again. Just going to stamp that right here in the corner. This is not the same stem. This one is a little smaller. And then I'm using one of the other little flower heads for this one. I'm just going to stamp it again in Highland Heather right there on the tip. And then I did go ahead and grab Lemon Lolly for the center of the flower, but you could leave it if you don't want to stamp it. If you don't want to grab one more color. There we go. And so there's the inside of our card too. And so I would stamp the same thing on the front of the envelope in the bottom corner, just like this. Okay, for this next card, I'm starting with a Night of Navy card base. Let's go ahead and get this one out of the way. Move those dimensionals over. So I've got a Night of Navy card base. I'm using Delightfully Eclectic Designer Series paper. I used this last week too. This is a huge package of Designer Series paper. So it's good for a lot of different types of cards. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this on my card base like we did before with the Stampin' Dimensionals. I have a scrap of the pretty good size scrap actually of Pecan Pie cardstock. I'm going to take my little embossing buddy and just prepare the cardstock to be stamped with Versamark ink. And I forgot to tell you that this time we're using the Next Destination stamp set. This stamp set is so good. It makes me think of retirement. Moving, if you know somebody that's moving, this would be a great card for that. Graduations, this is an excellent card for graduations, or scrapbooking. This is a great stamp set for scrapbooks. So I have a lot of ideas for using this stamp set. So this card, you may have noticed whenever I put the Designer Series paper on the card base, I am using this one horizontally. So I took the same card layout and I just turned it sideways. I'm going to go ahead and get that embossing buddy. I just realized I can stamp my sentiment at the same time too. My sentiment says explore, dream, and discover. So I'm just going to stamp that along this edge right here. Again in Versamark. And then I'm using black embossing powder. Okay. I think all the extra is tapped off, so here's another thing I love about this glass mat is it's heat resistant. So I can hold my cardstock right here on the glass mat and go ahead and use my heat tool right here and set my embossing powder. Is one of my favorite stamping techniques is just using that embossing powder and getting that fun little bit of dimension and shine to my projects. Okay, so this one, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna fussy cut around this in just a second. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut this one out as well. Cut it right about there. There we go. I'm just gonna cut straight across. I'm gonna cut it a little closer than that. You can use your paper trimmer if you want to cut this. Make sure you get it super straight. I'm not real worried about it. There we go. And then I'm just going to angle the ends, just like the other card. Just like that. And then this one, gonna fussy cut around. It's a pretty simple shape, so it doesn't take long either. And there we go. Okay, so the front of this card is really very simple. Just going to use my Stampin' Dimensionals again. Okay, so this one can be placed down on this lower corner. I'm using my mini dimensionals for the sentiment again. Make sure it's facing the right way up. And then I'm going to put it right here in this top right hand corner. To add just a little something extra, I'm using rustic metallic adhesive backed dots. I'm going to put a couple down here on this bottom left corner. Put one just right above the box there. Then I'm going to put another one, well, another couple right here around the sentiment. And then that's the front of this card. I always like to give my embellishments just a little mush down to make sure that they are good and secure. For the inside of this card, I'm going to get a piece of basic white cardstock and my Misty Moonlight ink. I'm going to use this, the ticket with the sunglasses. And this does have writing on it, so you want to make sure your writing is the right way up. So the sunglasses go on the left corner. And then another sentiment, it says, enjoy your next adventure. And again, I'm just going to use that same Misty Moonlight ink. I'm going to stamp it up towards the top and the center. And then just add this to the inside of your card. There we go. So there's card number 2. So those first 2 are the ones that the PDF tutorial will be on, for those of you getting that in the newsletter. And then this next one, I'm very excited about. It is has designer series paper from Celebration, which means that when you place your order in January, your order reaches $50 or more, for every $50, you get to choose something out of the Celebration catalog for free. And this designer series paper is an example of that. And let me show you just a little peek. So this is the designer series paper I'm using. It is called Most Adored Specialty Designer Series Paper because it has gold effects on it. And then the other side is real red and I believe flirty flamingo. It's very, very pretty. And there's more than just this design. I don't have my sheet made up yet to show you all the different patterns that are in this one, but let me tell you, they're all fabulous. This one's probably my favorite, but they're all great. It was really hard to decide which one to pick. And then the stamp set that I'm using is from the mini catalog, and this is called Ice Cream Swirl. It does have an optional coordinating ice cream swirl die set, which is really fun. This piece is the coolest of all because it is scored right here in the middle. So it can be a card or a flap on a card. You can make a tag with it. It's just really cool. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is get my stamps ready. So for this, I like to use this F block. I believe this is the F block. Just kidding. This is the E block. So I'm going to use the E block, and I'm going to put the top of the snow cone there. And then I'm going to put, or not snow cone, ice cream cone. And then the bottom of the ice cream cone on the other side. So they are oversized, but I like it that I can get them both on one. So I have a piece of petal pink, and that is what I'm stamping the cone on. And I'm also using petal pink ink for this. Okay, perfect. Now, somewhere I have a piece of basic white cardstock. Okay, so again, I'm just going to use the petal pink ink. I don't do a very good job of remembering that I have that mat there to place that in and keep it out of my way and still and quiet. Okay. And then I have a scrap of real red. And you really don't need much of a scrap for this because all I'm going to do is stamp the cherry using real red. My final stamp, I'm just going to stamp it on the other end of this, and it is the thanks sentiment. I love this thanks. I don't know about y'all, but some fonts I just really, really like, and this is one of those fonts. It's easy to read, and it's fun. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. There we go. So these three pieces, I'm going to use the coordinating dies to cut out. And then the thanks, I'm going to cut it out with my paper snips. Reminder, when using the small cut and emboss machine, I haven't been using this one quite as much lately. I've been using the larger one more often. So just a reminder that you want to make sure that your top plate is covering your die. You don't want it sticking out anywhere, but you also don't want the ends of your plates to be perfectly even. And using craft tape like I did on the Sending Smiles die, or washi tape or post-it note, something like that, just to hold it down while you get started, that is never a bad idea. Just be careful where you're putting it so you don't rip up your cardstock that you're using. Okay, so now for the sentiment, I'm just gonna use my paper snips, make sure that I'm in the frame there. There we go. And I'm gonna just trim, leaving a little bit of a white border around this word. So the goal there is to stay as even as possible with your edge around the word. Then I'm going to take my liquid glue now that I've got it cut out, and I'm going to go ahead and glue this onto a piece of the real red cardstock. While I have my glue out, I'm going to put just a little line of glue right here on the top of the cone. I'm going to go ahead and put my ice cream on top of that. I like to cut it out so I'm working with a smaller piece to begin with. Then I'm going to go around this just like I did the white around the stamped word. Now I'm going to go around with a red border. Hopefully I'm going to keep it about the same width from everything. This is one of those things that gets easier with practice, but it's not something that comes naturally to me. I have a really hard time judging distance. I think this is definitely something that no two will be exactly the same since it is hand cut. But not too bad, and it looks even better once you get it on your project. So for this card base, I just grabbed one that I had in my stash. So this time it is opening vertically instead of like a book, which is totally fine. There is no certain way you need to cut your cardstock. So this one, when I cut the cardstock, I cut it in half long ways and then scored at 5.5 inches. The other ones, I cut them with the cardstock like this. I cut it in half and scored at 4.25 inches. So it's just personal preference, whichever way you prefer to do it. So for this one, I'm using those standard dimensionals. I stacked the ones behind the K and the S. So there's two stacked on top of each other there, and then just one on the other side. And that'll keep it nice and even down here. I thought about adding some sort of bling to this, but I decided that with the gold hearts, it really doesn't need anything else. It's good just the way it is. And then for the inside, The only thing that I decided to do on this one is just stamp the cherry. I neglected to mention it on that second card, but just like on the first one, these two cards, the stamp that I put on the inside of the card, I would also put either on the front of the envelope or on the envelope flap. There we go. All of these cards are the same basic layout from this card in the catalog. I hope you like them. And I hope that you'll join me for a new card from the catalog next Friday night. In the meantime, reach out if you have any questions about Celebration, Stampin' Up in general, joining my team, these cards, or anything else stamping related. I love getting your questions and answering them. And if you decide to place an order, please use this host code right up here through December 2023. Y'all have a very Merry Christmas. Happy stamping.